For our session on innovation, we are excited to welcome two highly accomplished women who live in worlds that, as we think of them, are 180 degrees apart from each other: the business world and the nonprofit world. Holly Bohn, my seatmate at dinner last night, is the founder and creative director of C. Jane Work, has built a successful business that creates distinctive products that consumers, primarily women, enjoy having in their environment. I think some of it you'll see on stage today. Linda Rendleman, the co-founder and CEO of Women Like Us Foundation, has built a not-for-profit organization that has successfully lifts up the work of women around the world. You can find more about them in your program books, and as you listen to their presentations, I think you will find that there are many parallels in their approaches to integrating innovation into the process of becoming more successful. Let's all welcome Holly Bohn and Linda Rendleman.
So you're going to have to bear with me today. I'm doing something a little different. When Mary and Bob asked me to speak today, normally I just tell my story, my entrepreneurial journey. But when she said, you know, can you talk about how innovation and collaboration affected your journey, I was thinking to myself, you know, I'm a creative person, so I learn visually. And there's probably some of you out there that are like that as well. And I decided, I want to do this a little differently, and I want to have some visual aids. So I brought something today that to me is my reminder to be innovative. So this is my toolbox, and yes, my name is Holly, and this says Marion on it. So I will I'll get to that in a minute about what that means to me. But for me, I don't know how you necessarily tell somebody to be innovative. It's just something, it's a way of thinking. So I'll get into the story of that in a minute. But first, let me tell you my entrepreneurial story. So in 2003, I was decorating my office, and I had a background in finance and accounting, and I was running a consulting company that set up accounting systems. And you wouldn't think that I would want a colorful office, but I did. But I didn't have the time or the money to really do anything with my office. But you know, you spend so much time there, you want it to be a space that you like. So as I struggled with this, I thought, I can't be the only one that wants a great looking workplace. And you would go to the office superstores, and there would be smoke-colored plastic letter trays, or you could go to Neiman Marcus, but that wasn't in my budget. So once I got my office ready, and women started coming in and saying, oh my gosh, this is great, and I want to work in an office like this, I said, you know what, I think this is a good idea. So I launched C. Jane Work in 2004. Between the time of having the idea and then actually launching it, I did a ton of research. From 2004 to 2007, like it's just one little mountain on my slide, or one little valley. But that 2007 was kind of our year. By then, we'd had products on Oprah's O List 3 times. I was feeling very successful and thought, wow, this is it. Here we go. And then the banking crisis hit. And the funny thing about this, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that affected us, but you forget when you're growing your business that you do business with a lot of people, and sometimes even if you're strong or you've created a strong situation, you are still vulnerable. And so for me, in my situation, I ended up having some strategic partners that had some financial difficulties, and I wasn't suffering from not having sales, but I was suffering from the ability to grow and the ability to take on those opportunities. We were being approached by mass market retailers, and there was just no way that we were going to get the financing needed to buy the inventory and get the sales accomplished. So in 2010, I was acquired by a company called Advantis Corp. And I looked at a lot of different companies to be acquired by. And really at the end, it's sort of like finding your family and somebody that kind of has the same ideals. And you're not going to agree on everything, but it's just somebody that you want to work with. And then in 2011, I got my first opportunity with Office Depot. And I did ask Mary and Bob when we talked about this before, I don't want it to seem like I'm being the spokesperson for Office Depot today, or that I'm here because of that. But it has been a great collaboration. And so if I'm talking about innovation and collaboration, I really have to talk about that opportunity. So in 2011, I had my first test, and I had several tests after that. And then finally in 2014 was when I had the 20-foot section at Office Depot, and also the opportunity to do licensing on some furniture for them. So lots of great opportunities. The one constant throughout my journey has been innovation. So as I mentioned earlier, it's not something you can teach. I don't know what innovation is going to mean in your business or your career. One thing that a colleague that's with me here today mentioned earlier is she said, how do you know when you find what you're passionate about, or how do you be innovative? And one thing I have learned is that you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be innovative. I have seen so many people who have spent their lives in corporate and been so amazingly innovative. So I think whether you stay at home and you're an innovative mom, or you're in corporate and you're innovative there, or you start your own business and you're innovative there, innovation is for everyone. And it's a way to do something different. It's a way to make a difference. How this relates back to my toolbox is that I think to be innovative, you have to kind of collect tools along the way. So, it's all learning. Life's a learning experience, and you start out with some tools maybe that somebody in your family's given you. And you keep those tools. And then when you face a challenge in business, then you have to be innovative. So how do you make it happen? The box says Marion because it was my grandmother's toolbox. And she died in 1999. And, while the other family was fighting over her jewelry or furniture or things that had value, I asked for one thing, the toolbox. Because to me, my grandmother was innovation. She could fix anything, and she was brilliant. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. So you can see the box is as important as the tools that I keep in it. So my grandma was born in 1926. She went to work when she was 18 and then went back and forth as a housewife. In 1955, my grandfather was injured. She became the primary breadwinner, and that was not common in those days. She did end up going back home to be a housewife again, and I can imagine, at the time I didn't think to ask her this before she passed away, but I can imagine she was miserable. It just wasn't her. She's a worker. And then in 1967, as the kids were getting older, she went back to work in a factory. By the time she retired, she ended up running that factory. She did not have a college degree, but she could do anything. And so you can see why it's so important to me, and then even the fact that it says Marion and it sits right in my office, it reminds me of that and the struggles that she would have faced. And I mentioned her work outside the home, and I really try to be careful about this because I don't want to alienate anybody that stays at home. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, and she was fantastic. And I think that it's really important to note that one of the most important traits that mothers bring to the workforce is the ability to solve problems. And if you've spent an hour with a toddler, you know that. I have 3 kids, and I feel like I'm always solving problems. Teenagers or toddlers, they're both pretty difficult. So with your tools, with the tools that you amass in your toolbox, you can be innovative, and you can turn challenges into new opportunities, new solutions, and new relationships. And those are the things that are going to make your business successful. So you picture my toolbox in your head when you face your next challenge. So how does that innovation lead to success? So the way that I'm going to do this is I want to talk to you about some specific challenges, and then what tool I use to be innovative. My first challenge, and this is where the idea for CJ work came, was I don't want to work in this space. I spend all day here, I don't want to work here. And so what tool did I have to use to face that challenge? I like the idea of glasses, and you're first going to have your vision and you're going to see clearly the opportunity. But then the next important lesson that you learn from the glasses is to stay focused, and focused on what you can actually accomplish. You know, at the time, I could have opened a retail store. I could have immediately went into trying to do mass market, but I started out as an internet retailer. So I think one important tool to have in your toolbox is you have your glasses. That gives you vision, and then also reminds you to stay focused. The next challenge, oh, here's my office. See, isn't this a much better place to work? So the next thing was facing what everybody told me, or the naysayers, and I know, you know, other people have talked about that today. It's too much work. How are you going to do it? There's no way you can do this. So the next tool you pull out of your toolbox is your earmuffs, and you stop listening to them and you listen to your intuition. I'm not saying that you ignore valid concerns. If people have valid concerns, clearly I spent a year doing research, so I wasn't blindly going into this. But if they're not valid concerns, you're just going to have to tune them out and surround yourself with positive people. And when you do that, you're gonna have success. So that was when CJ Work was born. The next big challenge was, how am I going to compete with the superstores? And you have to remember, in 2004, the idea of somebody paying more, and I was specifically told this by some executives in the office supply industry who shall remain nameless, that no one is going to pay more for good-looking office supplies. That is what I was told in 2004. And everyone else said, how are you going to compete with the office superstores? And it is a valid point. So at this point, you know, the tool is not to tune them out. It's to think, how am I going to solve this problem? And I want to just give you a couple quotes that I really like. And this one's from Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx. And there's so many women here today, I don't have to explain what Spanx are. But embrace what you don't know, especially in the beginning, because what you don't know can become your greatest asset. It ensures that you will be doing things absolutely differently from everybody else. So innovation happens when assumptions are broken. And what I mean by that is that if I wanted to open the next Walmart, and I wanted to do everything exactly the way Walmart did it, am I going to be successful? No. They've figured it out. They've worked out the kinks. If I want to compete with the superstores, I'm going to have to do it differently. And that's what I did. So I think it's really important to know how you're going to be different, how you're going to differentiate yourself. And you touched on that today. Walmart is Walmart. But you know, big companies make this mistake. So Target made the mistake last year, and admittedly so, that they tried to compete with the Walmart business model, and it didn't work for them. So you have to be who you are. The next thing that's really important, I'm going to go through this one quickly because nobody likes spreadsheets, but you'll see a little bit of my finance background coming out, is when you have an idea, before you just start going crazy and making it happen, you need to figure out how you're going to assess whether your innovation worked. So as you face these different challenges in your business, you need to be able to measure whether it was successful or not. Did your ideas work, so that you can do more of what worked, less of what didn't work? Kind of common sense. So, I mean, this is just really quickly one of the things facing an internet retailer, and this is all made up, this is not real. But would we do free shipping? Would we do flat rate shipping? And you can see as we came up with a plan for how we're going to measure whether or not we do certain things. So you can have great ideas, but you also have to have a plan for evaluating those ideas. The next big step is growing. And I've talked with this about other women entrepreneurs, and growing is sometimes harder than starting, because now you know enough to be dangerous. When I mentioned that I was acquired by Advantis, And then I also mentioned my opportunity with Office Depot. And when I wanted to be in front of the average retail customer, for me to open 1,000 stores, am I going to compete with Office Depot? No. But I could collaborate with Office Depot. So what happened is my toolbox is empty at this point. You remember it's the banking crisis. But Advantis gave me the flashlight, Office Depot gave me the batteries, and together we're better. And now CJ Work products are in over 1,000 retail stores. So you can see just being open to different ways, being open to collaboration can lead you to success. How do you work together? I work with a lot of great people at Office Depot. But one of the things that I've learned is when I first came in, I was so full of ideas, so full of creativity, and I had an opinion about everything. And I had to really stop and say, I need to listen first and talk second. If these people are worthy of collaborating with, they're worthy of listening to. So even though it's my dream, it's my baby, they know their business, I know my business, but together we need to listen to each other. So I think it's really hard to do that. I love this quote: the ability to speak several languages is an asset, but the ability to keep your mouth shut in any language is priceless. And then also this, some relationships are blessings, others are lessons. Either way, never regret knowing someone. Everyone you encounter teaches you something important that you need to learn. Some people test you, some use you, some teach you, and some inspire you. And this is absolutely true. And if you look at every person that comes a path, it could just be someone that smiles at you when you're having a bad day. And I hope that I'll be one of those people. So now that I've talked about this, how do you protect your dream in that collaboration? Clearly, I didn't just sit there with duct tape over my mouth. Women still have an uneasy relationship with power and the traits necessary to be a leader. There's something that seems sort of unfeminine about being powerful. So are we going to be considered ruthless or pushy or strident? This is definitely a challenge, and I think the way Arianna Huffington put it in this quote is just amazing. So this is my final and most important tool, and this tool actually came to me from two women at Office Depot, one who is a mentor to me. And some of you know Linda Boykin and Nicole Lord. And it was, as I mentioned, it was a struggle. First you come in, you have an opinion about everything. Then you learn, okay, I need to take a step back. So when do I speak up? And how do I speak up? How do I be powerful? How do I get my point across? How do I continue to be innovative within this relationship? And so they said to use a velvet hammer, to be tough but fair. And I look at so many of the people that I've worked with here, and I see this trait in so many successful women. The ability to know, pick your battles, know when to fight, when to let it go. And if you truly follow this model, you will see your dreams still come true. So you can see how we had a challenge, looked at our resources. I looked at my resources or my tools. What tools did I have in my box? Did I need somebody else's tools, which in fact I did? And then how did that lead to innovation or a new way of doing something? I think that, you have to always remember when I talked about breaking assumptions, like the assumption that you can't compete with a superstore. You need to know when rules are not rules, they're more societal conventions. Just a quick example is women in voting. How many years did women think they weren't capable of voting simply because they weren't allowed to vote? For 80 years, they fought for the right to vote. So I think it's important to know when something is an assumption and when it's actually a rule. And then I think the other thing is to remember, what's in your toolbox, what's in somebody else's toolbox, how you can collaborate. And then, of course, looking at every challenge, not as an opportunity to give up, but as an opportunity to be different. Thank goodness for those challenges, because that's how you're going to set yourself apart. And so that's all I have for you today. Thank you.
I love your toolbox. I love your toolbox.
Hello,
everyone. I'm Linda Rendleman. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. I'm with the Women Like Us Foundation. I'm the CEO and the co-founder, and I'm thrilled to be here today, and I love the relationship that we're building with the Office Depot Foundation. And whenever I go out to a group like this, and there's always a few men in the crowd, I need to actually give a message to the men, and that is that several men have come up to me and said, we'd like to be a part of Women Like Us Foundation. We'd like to start a chapter, but we'd like to call it Women Like Us. So I go, well, I don't think that works for us. So no, you can't do that. But anyway, it's really wonderful to be here. And when I heard the topic, the innovation and the collaboration, well, we're huge collaborators, as you can imagine, because we're so much about supporting women and working with women. And then I thought, an innovator, am I an innovator? Let's see, I don't have a product like a lot of these women. And then it dawned on me that in reality, I have been innovating my entire life. I really, truly have, because I've always done what I wanted to do. And I'm not much of a detail person like Victoria talked about, strategizing and getting everything ahead of time and understanding. I tend to just go with the vision. So innovation for me is kind of like a creative vision, and then I figure it out later. And so far, it's worked out okay. So anyway, that works for me, and I need the remote. So thank you. So what I want to do today is I'm going to also share a little bit about my story. I'm a little bit older, so it's a long story, so I won't tell the whole thing. But I'm going to share a little bit about my story and my journey and how I came to be able to do things like this. To be with this little boy up in Njoro, Kenya, who had never seen a crayon in his life. And if you can see the eyes of the children around him, they are flabbergasted, probably not a word that they know, but they're flabbergasted about seeing what is this? What is this that this child has in his hand that we were able to bring to him through our partnership with Office Depot Foundation. Have I not been on my journey, I would not have been able to meet these two girls. These are Jacqueline and Faith. Jacqueline and Faith are victims of female genital mutilation, FGM. But they're the lucky ones because they're at the Oma Lake home in Kenya, and we also brought them sack packs and school supplies, and they have left that tradition and are finding the resources to have a better life and to bring that back to the other Maasai people in their community to try to eradicate that. And we're very, very much a part of that. And that is a gift to me to be able to meet them and to help them. In fact, we provided a water tank for them. We went with them to get their water every day, and we literally went down to the river, scooped it out of the river, and brought it back. And what happens is when these children in Kenya, when anyone in Kenya has to drink out of the river, that obviously they become unhealthy, they get disease, and it's just not a good thing. So we were very happy that we were able to give them clean drinking water from a water tank. And this picture is my daughter. And my journey also allowed me to bring my daughter with me to Kenya, to Costa Rica, to work here in the United States, and she's the international spokesperson for our foundation. So I feel blessed that not only am I meeting these wonderful people, but I also get to share it woman to woman with my daughter. So what I'd like to talk about today is three things: passion, which we've heard about before, purpose, and perseverance. And I have a quote that's a favorite quote of mine, and it goes like this: when I get to the end of my life, I not only want to live the length of it, I want to have lived the width of it as well. And when I finish today, I'm hoping that I will inspire you to find more width in your life and to find what makes your soul sing, to find your voice for making a difference. So the first thing is passion. And in my story about passion, by the time I was 14 years old, I had attended 15 different schools. Now, I have to say that's not the usual childhood that you usually get. Both of my parents came from very poor backgrounds. My dad quit high school to join the Marines, literally, and he was so passionate about serving his country during World War II. And the thing is, he was so slight that they wouldn't let him in. He was so thin, they wouldn't let him in. And by the way, he was from a family, the kind of family where you gather up food at church and you take them a basket at Christmas time. That was my dad's family. But what he did, he was so passionate about joining the Marines that he actually went out and ate pounds and pounds and pounds of bananas. And by doing that, it just got him to be able to tip the scale. And he did become a Marine and actually landed on Iwo Jima on his 21st birthday. And he's here today, thank God. And my mom was a country girl that she was smart, and she always wanted us to have an education because it was so important to her. And to get her education, high school, she had to go live with a family in town in central Illinois and do chores for them to earn her keep. And she slept by the basement at night on a cot and went to school during the day. So I had some really strong people in the background. And by the way, Dad did go ahead and get his GED, his bachelor's degree and his master's degree, and he's a very successful businessman today, although he's retired and very happy about that. So we came along and we moved and we moved and we moved. And it was really, I believe it was really their kind of, they were so excited about their life together that it was their upwardly mobile kind of strategy. So I walked in and out of schools. I don't know, they never could seem to move in the summertime. So I was always walking in and out of schools where I was the new girl. And I was always, class, here's Linda Rendleman. She's the new girl today. I heard a lot of that. But you know, as I look back on that kind of a life, we had each other. And I also learned by those experiences that I can do anything. I can do anything I want. And so that's really, truly how I've lived my life. That's how I began finding my width. So coming from a small town in southern Indiana, about half of my girlfriends got married right out of high school. And some of them went on to college, which I did. But after my freshman year in college, I decided I should get married too. That's what everyone's doing. I don't know, do I really need this college education? So I got married and I decided I would go to work. Well, going to work during that time period, 90% of the jobs were sitting in a typing pool. So I got a job at a big life insurance company, and I sat there and I was typing away when I realized this is not what I had in mind for my life. I was horrible at it, for one thing, but I knew I had to do something better. And then it dawned on me that education is definitely the key to get where I want to go. Well, by this time, I had my beautiful baby girl. So I no longer was able to go to college like everyone else. Now in high school, I was popular. I was a varsity cheerleader. I was on the student council. It was my world. But I was at a big major university, and I became a commuter, so to say, that too, no, a commuter. And my days were getting up, taking care of my baby, getting dressed, getting her dressed, taking her to the babysitter, driving to classes. Many times I would take 21 hours a semester because I was desperate to try to catch up. And I can remember at night I would sit in my kitchen at a little wooden table, and I would have my daughter on my lap. And I would be typing my papers. This is before computer, guys. I would be typing my papers. Remember the old Smith Corona little portable typewriters, you guys? Remember those? And remember the erasable bond paper? Yeah, that's what I was doing. And I would type papers, and my daughter Kat would be on my lap, and I would say to her under my breath, "Are you watching this? Are you seeing what's happening? We can do this. We can do this. We're going to have a better life. We just have to work for it. We have to get our education." And so we did. And later, when I was divorced, the innovation really did kick in, because I realized that I was strong and that I could do things, and I wasn't the only single mom out there. And we needed to come together. I needed to meet these women. We all needed to share our stories, which is very much what the Women Like Us Foundation is about. And we needed to support one another and to be the people that we wanted to be. And that's when my passion was really birthed. And that's when I really felt that I began living my life with width. Whoops, and I go the wrong way. But the thing is, you can find out what your purpose is. And by the way, I was reading lately that a definition for passion, I'm not going to say it must have been written by a man, by the way. You didn't hear me say that. But I heard it was uncontrollable emotion. I'm like, what? That's not right. That's not what passion is. It's emotion that's exciting, and it's something that you really want to do. It's the fuel. It's the fuel that makes you live your life the way you want to. But with passion, you also have to have purpose. So what do I do with my passion? I have this purpose now. I mean, I have this passion. What do I do with it? Well, I knew that I wanted to work with women. And so about 20 years ago, I founded Indianapolis Woman Magazine. That's where I'm from, Indianapolis, although I'm in LA now. And I founded Indianapolis Woman Magazine, and interestingly enough, it was quite innovative because it was the first women's magazine from a city that had been developed except for one. We found one other in Virginia. So there were no local women magazines at this time. And I can remember sitting at my dining room table with my daughter's first grade paper, you know, the really wide line stuff, writing the mission statement on her first grade paper. I will never forget that, what this magazine is going to look like. And my goal for the magazine was to bring women together. In fact, it's my life's work, is bringing women together, helping women meet one another, connect together, resources, collaboration. And I really was very serious about making this happen. We ended up with a slick magazine. We ended up with a radio show, a TV show for Indianapolis Women Magazine. But we had one little mistake, and that was I had a co-founder with me also who sadly isn't here anymore. But what we did find out is that we didn't have a very good business strategy, and we were very, very underfunded. So it was launched, it was wonderful, but we did end up selling it to somebody bigger that had a whole bunch of money that wanted to take it to the next level. So it's good, we got it started. And I would see that magazine in the grocery store for 20 years after that, and I always had a little smile that it was still out there and that it was still doing good and reaching out to women. So fast forward, I still had a passion to do something with women. I was a single mom at this point. I had to work. I had to take care of my kids. And then what came along was the internet. And when the internet came along, it was a time when, do you remember back when you first heard about global websites? And it was probably people like Office Depot that had a global website. It was the big boys. It was Xerox. It was all of these people. And I was sitting at my desk. And 2 times in my life, I have had an epiphany that absolutely brought chills all over my body. And this was one of them. And I thought, I could do a magazine again, but I could do it online. Wow, what a great idea. And so I started Business Women Connect. And of course, I knew nothing about the internet. I knew nothing about how to do websites. And every time I've changed anything in my life, I've always gone back to education. I've always gone back to studying, to figuring out how to do a magazine, number one, to figure out how to do a website for women. So we launched Business Women Connect. I took out an SBA loan to make it happen. And as a matter of fact, the SBA, was so impressed that this was their first loan they'd ever given anyone for an online business, that they wrote a big article about me in their journal. So I was launched, I was headed out, and I created with Business Women Connect, which was the name of this website, very much like kind of some of the things that Michelle showed us, you know, the women, you know, bringing women together, empowering them, inspiring them. But I was the only one at that point, at least that I knew of, that was doing that. And so at this point, I also created a foundation, and I called it the Business Women Connect Foundation. And I did that because I felt that I wanted to give back, even back then, and this was some time ago, but I wanted to give back. I really wanted to be able to help women, help them financially, and I also wanted to help them with my for-profit business through reading, through the blogs that I wrote, which were not called blogs back then. And in fact, some of them I wrote were things like, "Some women don't get it." And truly, the smoke, I think, came off of the keys of my keyboard when I wrote that. Because what that was about and what I was seeing was that women weren't supporting one another. They were getting so far along the way. They had women's organizations. They were acting like they were supporting one another. They would all get together. they would network, they would do business together. But when it got to the point when it was time for a promotion, when it was time to get up a little bit higher to that glass ceiling and break through it, when they were working with men and the men were in charge of developing the women and promoting them further, that seemed to stop. And I really do sincerely hope that all of the women in this room are supporting one another and bringing one another along, because we can do it together. And we are half of humanity, and we do have something to offer. So think about that. How many of you, by the way, made those 3 friends in the room at the beginning? Remember we talked about that? Okay, good. But please, please keep that in mind. In fact, you know, if you're a decision maker and there's qualifications that are even, man and a woman, promote the woman. Okay, we need it. Well, we don't need it, but we should do it. That's a better way to put it. So I had created a foundation for Business Women Connect as well, and I was doing some writing, and it was my goal to write a book. Well, what happened was, sometimes finding your width comes in the form of adversity. At this point, I had a pretty good television show, actually, and I found out that I had cancer. And that cancer was the form of adversity that really did teach me about width. And so everything stopped. Everything had to stop. And as I had to stop my dream of a foundation, I basically took that foundation, I put it in a little beautiful box, and I put it up in a closet. And I thought, someday I'm going to do something with that. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know when it will be. But it's there for a purpose. And so 12 years later, I'm cancer-free. Thank you. Yay, I'm going for about 95, I think. My dad's 92. I think I'll make it to at least that. And so when I got better, I started that book. And I knew why I hadn't written that book yet. It's because I had needed to have a little more width in order to be able to do it. So I started my book, Women Like Us, and I collaborated again. I told pieces of my story, and then I brought in wonderful women that I knew that are mentors that would love to share their stories. And when you guys talk about mentors here, back in kind of my day, a little bit further back, we didn't have female mentors. You guys, we get it now. Women get it. They're sharing. They're bringing other women along, and it's wonderful. Although I do say there's another article that I wrote that's called, Is Feminism Dead or Just Taking a Break? So don't forget, ladies, that we got so far, but we're not done yet. We are not done yet. And that's what I think is so exciting about the Women Like Us Foundation, which I'll get to in a second. So forgot, moving along too quickly. So I got my first book. I finished my first book, Women Like Us, Real Stories and Strategies for Living a Best Life. And then I had a friend come to me and said, who had a philanthropic background, and my foundation was still up there in the box. It was still up there. And she said to me, Linda, this is a great name. This is a great thing. You're bringing all these women together with your book. Don't you have a foundation? Yeah. Well, we got the foundation back down. It was sitting there waiting, 501c3, ready to go, and it renamed it the Women Like Us Foundation. So through perseverance, through starting the foundation, which, yes, you do run like a business because you have to, for sure, and bringing women along, we have been able to really persevere, and through my cancer and through the things that I knew I had to do. And writing a book, if you have a book in you, do it. If you feel like you want to write a book, and I know we have some great authors here, do it, because for me anyway, it was that I wanted to, and I also knew I had to, because I felt like I had something to share and something to say. So here we are. It's the Women Like Us Foundation, and what we do is we support women around the world and we support women-led causes. Oops, I always go the wrong way. I'm so bad at this. So this is back to current time. This is back to Kenya. This is Anne Abdul. And Anne Abdul is in Northern Africa, and she's a fabulous businesswoman. Truly, I was so impressed by her. We found her and we came up to visit her. I'm dancing right there with the teen girls. They brought me up and put this necklace around me, and we were dancing and just celebrating womanhood. And Anne is very, very, very interested in helping teens. The name of her organization that we support is called Victorious Teens. And what she does in particular, and what we helped her with, is teen girls are dropping out of school. They aren't getting educated like a lot of girls here in the United States. And the teen girls, one of the reasons is because when they have their monthly cycle, they have no protection. And when they have no protection, they stay home. So what happens is they lose 5 or 6 days a month, and eventually they just drop out. So we are working to try to find a sponsor that will be able, we took a whole bunch of what they call sanitary towels. We took our school supplies from Office Depot Foundation. And what we're working with them to try to do now is to also find a sponsor like a Procter & Gamble or a Kotex that will help us to actually take the materials over there, and the girls can learn to make their own and possibly have some kind of a micro industry. So I was very excited to meet Anne. She's a fabulous, fabulous businesswoman, and she was amazing. Keep going backwards, sorry. These are a few of the girls that Anne works with, and as you can see, they have the sack packs on the front, and they also had them on the back. They didn't know how to put them on or what to do with them, but they loved them, so they were wearing them everywhere. So it was really, really cute. And we've helped not only, because I said what we do is we together support and help women-led causes. And by that, I don't mean just women-led causes that have to do with women's issues. And I want to make that very clear. We have 4 pillars that we support. We support women that are making change in the economy. We support women who are creating change in the environment. We support women who are making change in education and also in health and human services. We've been involved in supporting awareness. Back in Indianapolis when they had the Super Bowl, we supported awareness for human trafficking, which was a huge eye-opener for me because I was the spokesperson for everyone. I had not really studied it and realized how devastating it is right here in the United States. We brought women like Somali Mom from the Somali Mom Foundation to speak, and we've raised money for her. We've raised money for Natalie Angel, who has a birthing center in Uganda. We've also actually spent time living in an ashram in India and walking along a swinging bridge on the base of the Ganges up into the Himalaya mountains and worked in an orphanage and helped them build a dormitory. We've helped with English teachers and we're textbooks and things that women need to be able to do the work that they're passionate about doing because we are passionate about helping them. And our mission statement is we bring together those of like mind and spirit who want to make the world a better place by lifting up the work of women around the world. So, thank you. Thank you. And so, that's my width. At the beginning, someone said, have you known what you want to do all your life? Raise your hand. And I really have to say, I did raise my hand because I really have always wanted to give back since I was a very little girl. And I'm just absolutely blessed that I'm able to do that. A couple of more pictures. We have a teen girl program as well, and it's called One Girl at a Time, and the girls travel with us. It's very similar to the other group that was here, I believe, because I did speak with her a little bit. We do group mentoring with teen girls here in the United States. And so it's resources, it's values clarification, self-esteem, and then we also really work on that component of service. So we've earned scholarships and raised money to be able to take teen girls with us around the world, and it's a pretty awesome thing. Some of these girls have never been on a plane. You know, some of them have just never even been to downtown, and so it's a very, very cool thing to get to do. That's Mackenzie. She was with us in Kenya. And interestingly enough, at one point we were talking to the teens. We had the teens share with the other teens, even though the language barrier was horrible. And they because her hair was blonde, they kept wanting to touch her hair. It was so cute. We have some great pictures of that. And anyway, she loved it. It was wonderful. Here's some of our kids at the N.A. Noel School. A few more of those school supplies. And someone mentioned earlier vision boards. These are our teen girls in Los Angeles. We work at a homeless center where teen girls live, and we also go into about 6 high schools there with our One Girl program as well. And that's a picture of where we're doing our vision board. So together, helping women change the world. It's been truly my life's work. It's my legacy to my children, to my daughters. And I would like to end by showing you something that we're very excited that we're working on. It's a trailer for our documentary. Luckily, being in Los Angeles, sometimes you get to meet people that are film producers and things. And so we took them with us on our trip to Kenya. And so if we could, I'll show you I think this is the last slide. That's our contact information. And whenever you're ready, I'll just end with our trailer. And thank you very much. When I get to the end of my life, I not only want to have lived the length of it, I want to have lived the width of it as well.
I am so excited. We are just about 2 weeks away from traveling to Kenya.
I'm on the plane, headed to Kenya.
Because there's so much more going on globally that we don't know about.
Open yourself up, see the world, see the pain, see the suffering, find your voice based on living through that experience.
Some of these girls have been affected by female genital mutilation. And I feel like as a woman and as a mom now that I have to do something to change this.
It's only that there is lack of knowledge. And that lack of knowledge, we need to engage with the community.
We're looking at the areas of education, of the environment, of health and human services, and of economic development.
You find that in a month, a girl misses school for 4 or 5 days when they have their periods on because they lack the protection that they can use.
Women are in all these areas, and we want to support them to make great things happen for the world.
We are anxious to share these stories.
With what you're given, you have such an outreach. Use it to better the world that you're in and that you're a part of.
As women, we can accomplish great things, and we can do it with grace and compassion and love.
No, I'm going to be the one that does it. I'm not going to wait for someone else.
So we have about 5 minutes, something like that. I want to stay on time. So, does anybody have any questions that we could ask? Please.
Holly, could you tell us a little bit more about the testing that you had gone through? Because I'm not specifically in that space, and I'm really not sure really how long that may have taken or what that really entailed to, whether it's get you to the next level, obviously, here with Office Depot, or what that really means.
Yeah, and with any of the mass market retailers, I wasn't an established brand. I wasn't Martha Stewart. And so for me to come in and say, I have this great idea, they're not going to instantly just give me 20 feet. So at first I would, when you would go in, you would show them your ideas, and we have maybe the samples of the products and a drawing of what it would look like on a promotional end cap. And then with each of those promotional end caps, they give you, a few months in the store. And depending on how that sells, does it sell to what they're projecting? Does it sell more than what they're projecting? And then each time, it would continue to outsell projections. And so they would give me a more opportunity. It might be more stores. It might be a little more space. And so that's how the testing was. And I think for, you know, a lot of the big brands, like I mentioned, Martha Stewart, she doesn't have to go through that anymore. But when you're a startup and you're just entering, they're not going to, you know, give you or give you a bunch of space if you haven't proven yourself. So that's kind of what the testing was, is really just me designing products, putting it in there. Is anybody going to like it? And it is scary because you're sort of putting your heart out there and you put it in there and you think, will anybody buy this? You know, do I know what I'm doing? I think it's a good idea, but I don't know if anybody else will. So, you know, and there's a lot of variables, but that's basically what that process looks like.
Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Stephanie. I'm the CEO and founder of Accessory Fanatic. I had a question for Linda. I really love what you're up to. It kind of really jives with what I'm about as well and the vision of my business. So I was wondering, outside of Kenya, what can women in the United States do on a local level? Do you have anything like that where we can help out here?
Yes, absolutely we do. And the trailer just shows Kenya right now, but the documentary is also going to be about women. I'm hoping to get Mary to do a cameo in it too. So it's also going to be about what's going on right here. Our One Girl at a Time program is a great way to get involved with teen girls in your community. I like to call our One Girl at a Time program our women in training. So that are women in like us in training. And we also support women's causes right here in Indianapolis as well. Or Indianapolis, where am I? I never know where I am. Boca, the world, United States. We support other women-led causes right here as well, and we're looking for more. So, you know, if you know of something that would be good to support in your community, we're happy to partner with you and help you to do that. As well as we're just starting our next strategy for our next 5 years. And what we're doing is we're developing a donor group called the Women Effect. And they will get the opportunity to travel with us around the United States or in other parts of the world, and also to vet women's causes that we feel would be good to support. So those things are coming up too. But yeah, right here in the United States, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, John.
Good afternoon. My name is Roxana Scafidi from FL Accounting. Holly, you said that it's very easy to start a business, but it's very hard to grow that business. Which is the advice that you will give based on your experience?
So I think there are many people that have come before me, and perhaps they were in the right place at the right time, or they had skills that I didn't have. But for me, I think accepting that point where I knew that I had exhausted my resources and that I would need to collaborate. And people have said to me before, people say a lot of things, and they've said things like, you know, you sold out, or you know, you could have done this all on your own, and maybe I could have. But where I was at in my life, I had to collaborate and work with somebody else. So I think it just depends, you know, every situation is unique, but really knowing what your resources are, what are your tools, what do you have, and is there somebody else that you can work with that has what you need? And for me, I'm so happy right now to be able to do what I love, and I get just enough taste of corporate when I'm at my Office Depot meetings, you know, where I say inappropriate things or do things that are not politically correct, and then I go back to my office. So, you know, I don't have to worry about making payroll and all of those things. So I think it looks different for everybody.
I know I'm getting up to the mic a lot today, but my mother taught me never to be shy, so I try to live by that. And this is for Mary. One of my life goals and dreams for my life is to be surrounded by amazing women, and I think that you definitely achieved that today. So I'd like to give you a round of applause, and thank you so much.
Thank you. And right back at you, sweetie. I'm very blessed. Who do you have next? Is there somebody? Yeah. No? So okay, sorry. I'll sit down.
Hi there.
Hi.
My name's Dr. Cheryl Ferguson, and I'm a psychologist. I have a private practice, which I've had for almost 10 years. And out of my work, I see a need for services for autistic children. And so I've created a nonprofit called Lasting Families. So my question is, how do I go from the vision to the execution to get the mentorship and sponsorship?
Is that one for me?
Yes.
Okay. You're already a 501c3? Is that correct?
In the process.
In the process. Okay. You make sure you have a very clear vision statement, and you find like-minded people that perhaps are particularly interested in that particular topic. And you also realize that corporate sponsors are only one way to skin a cat with a philanthropic initiative. Donors, in fact, corporate sponsors are maybe about 10% of the monies that will allow you to go ahead and grow your work. Private donors are huge, and donors donate either because that's a particular thing that they're interested in, your cause. They donate because they might want their name on something. I mean, I was at a live auction last week for a huge foundation, and they were putting people's names on their food trucks, and so there's that. And then also sometimes people want to donate very privately, and you don't know why. But I can tell you it's a process. It's a long process. The other piece is, do you have a board?
Yes, I do.
Okay, it's really important to have a good board and people that are not on there for name only, but will also give you resources and will also be fiscally responsible to help you find sponsors as well. Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. And I'm just happy to be here. Love the stories.
Thank you.
I think that you'd agree with me that these young women here teach us about taking a journey, and always the path isn't always the same, and it changes, and it's okay to change. And it's okay to take the path where it leads you, and whatever that is, celebrate those wins and celebrate the changes and whatever that may be. And I thank you so much for sharing that with us and enriching us today. So if you come up here, we would like to honor you with being difference makers in all of our lives today. So Linda, thank you for being women like us.
Oh, yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, and congratulations for being cancer-free, and thank you for everything you've shared with us and being so. And Holly,
thank you for being here.
I love the toolbox. I'm sorry.
And
Mary,
this is going next to the toolbox.
Okay, great. So thank you, and thank you for sharing how to do this, and thank you. And we appreciate it.